If you really want to understand the just the sheer scale of World War I, you have to look at one battle in particular.
Oh, for sure. It's the one that almost defines the entire Western Front.
It lasted for nearly 10 months, just constant, brutal fighting. And when it was finally over, the cost was just staggering. Over 700,000 casualties.
We are, of course, talking about the Battle of Verdun in 1916.
And it was, less of a battle and more like a giant machine designed to just grind up soldiers.
Exactly. By 1916, the war was a complete stalemate. Just trenches and mud. Neither side could make any real progress.
So the German High Command, specifically a general named Erich von Falkenhayn, he decides they have to do something to break the deadlock.
And his idea was, well, it was chilling. He didn't pick Verdun because he wanted to capture his city. He picked it for what it represented.
Its symbolic value.
Precisely.
Uh-huh.
Verdun was this historic French fortress city, a symbol of national pride. Falkenhayn knew the French military had to defend it. They couldn't afford to lose it, politically or psychologically.
So he's basically setting a trap. He knows they'll throw every soldier they have into the fight.
And that was the actual goal. Not conquest, but attrition. He literally said he wanted to bleed the French army white.
Wow. So it's a terrifying kind of math problem. He believed Germany could afford to lose more men than France could.
He did. And he chose a location where he knew it would be incredibly difficult for the French to get supplies and reinforcements in. He was setting them up for failure right from the start.
So on February 21st, 1916, it all begins.
And it begins with a sound that people reported hearing hundreds of miles away. A massive, massive artillery bombardment.
The numbers are almost hard to believe.
They are. In just the first few hours, the Germans fired over 1 million shells into the French lines.
1 million in a few hours.
The ground just erupted. And under the cover of that fire, the German infantry made terrifyingly fast progress at first. They started capturing these key French forts.
Including the big one, Fort Doumer.
Yes, and that was a huge psychological blow to the French. This massive modern fortress, a cornerstone of their defense. And it was captured with almost no fight by a small German patrol.
But that initial success didn't last, did it?
No, because the French started pouring men in to hold the line. But now both armies had to fight a second enemy, the terrain itself.
Right. Before the battle, this area was all dense forests and hills.
And after a few weeks of shelling, it was gone. All of it. Historians call it a moonscape.
Just craters, mud, and the stumps of trees.
And the soil there is this very heavy clay. So when it rained, and it rained a lot, the whole battlefield turned into this thick, gluey mud that could suck a man down.
So movement was a nightmare. And the whole battle just became a fight for the high ground, for the ridges.
Because if you controlled the ridges, your artillery spotters could see the enemy. And in a battle defined by artillery, seeing the enemy was everything.
Which brings us to a huge problem for the French. How do you keep an army fighting when the enemy has cut most of your railway lines?
That's the million-dollar question. And the French solution, organized by General Philippe Pétain, was just an absolute logistical miracle.
They relied on a single road.
One road. That's it. They called it the Voie Sacrée, the sacred way.
The sacred way.
And it became this nonstop conveyor belt. Thousands of trucks, running in convoys, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Bringing food, ammunition, and fresh troops to the front.
And they had this incredible system to keep it open. There were teams of men literally stationed along the road, constantly throwing down stones to fill in holes while the trucks were driving past them.
That's insane. While they're moving?
And the rule was simple. If your truck breaks down, you don't stop. You don't hold up the line. You were immediately pushed into a ditch.
Wow. Just keep the traffic flowing no matter what.
The flow is everything. At its peak, about 600 vehicles passed any given point on that road every single hour.
And that lifeline is what allowed the French to keep rotating their troops, right?
Okay.
To pull exhausted soldiers out and put fresh ones in.
It was the only thing that stopped Falkenhayn's attrition plan from working. Because life in those trenches, it was an absolute hell.
I mean, you have to try and picture it. You're living underground in constant dampness with rats everywhere.
There was almost no clean water to drink. And the air was filled with this permanent stench of chemicals and death.
And the noise. I can't imagine the noise.
It never stopped. The constant sound of artillery explosions day and night. Sleep was impossible. Men were just constantly on edge, waiting for the next shell.
And this leads to what became known as shell shock.
Right. And it's more than just stress. This was a complete psychological breakdown from the constant trauma. The explosions, the noise, seeing your friends die, it literally broke their nervous system,
So you'd see soldiers shaking uncontrollably, unable to speak.
or even temporary paralysis. It was proof that this new industrial warfare could destroy a soldier from the inside out, even if a shell never touched him.
And the cause of all that trauma, the weapon that defined Verdun, was artillery.
It was the king of the battlefield, absolutely. It caused the huge majority of all casualties.
The Germans had their famous Big Berthas, these enormous siege guns.
Terrifying weapons. They fired these gigantic shells designed to smash through the concrete of the French forts.
And the French.
The French relied on their 75mm field gun. It was much smaller, but it could fire incredibly fast, which was devastating against waves of infantry trying to cross open ground.
But it's the sheer volume that's so hard to comprehend.
It is. The estimates are somewhere between 40 and 60 million shells fired during the battle.
60 million.
Fired into this one small patch of land. It didn't just kill people, it literally reshaped the landscape. Hills were leveled. And a horrifying detail. Many soldiers were just buried alive by the constant churning of earth from the explosions.
So let's circle back to that core idea, attrition warfare. Verdun is the ultimate example.
It is. It means that gaining ground is secondary. The main goal is just killing the enemy.
Generals on both sides were willing to sacrifice thousands of their own men for a few yards of mud.
They treated human lives like a resource, like coal or steel, believing they could afford to spend them faster than the other side.
And that's where Falkenhayn's plan went wrong. He thought the French would break.
But they didn't. They kept feeding man into the grinder using the sacred way. And eventually, the Germans were bleeding just as badly as the French were. It became a two-way slaughter.
So despite all this, the tide eventually starts to turn, and it comes back to Fort Douaumont.
Right. The French were obsessed with retaking it. They launched counterattack after counterattack for months. Horrific, bloody fighting.
And what was it like inside the fort?
Awful. Hundreds of soldiers crammed into these dark, damp tunnels. There was even a moment when an ammo dump exploded by accident inside the fort, killing hundreds of German soldiers instantly.
But the French did finally recapture it in October of 1916.
They did, and it was a massive boost for morale, a real turning point. But the other critical factor came from somewhere else on the map.
The Somme offensive.
Exactly. In July 1916, the British Army launched their own huge attack further north at the Somme. And that was a deliberate move to help the French.
It forced the Germans to pull troops and, more importantly, heavy artillery away from Verdun to go fight the British.
And that was the relief the French army desperately needed. The German attacks at Verdun eased up, and it gave the French the breathing room to launch their own successful counteroffensives.
So the battle finally winds down in December 1916.
After nearly 10 months of this industrialized slaughter, the front line was, well, it was almost exactly where it started in February.
All of that death for nothing.
For nothing. Both armies were completely exhausted. We come back to that number. Over 700,000 casualties. The French called Verdun the mouth of hell.
And the legacy is still there on the ground today, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Even now, a century later, farmers still find the bones of soldiers in their fields.
And there's the Douaumont ossuary.
A powerful memorial. It's a building that holds the collected, mixed-together remains of over 130,000 unidentified French and German soldiers, a silent testament to the human cost.
And entire villages were just wiped off the map forever.
Yes, the Zone Rouge, or the Red Zone. The land was so contaminated with unexploded shells, poison gas, and human remains that it was declared too dangerous to live on. 9 villages were never rebuilt.
So Verdun represents this incredible bravery and suffering, but also the complete futility of that kind of industrial warfare.
It does. It stands as this powerful reminder of the cost of war, but it's also now a place of reconciliation.
Which is so important. You can go there today and see French and German leaders standing together to honor the dead of both sides.
It shows that even from the most horrific history, something positive can be learned. We hope this look at Verdun helps bring the scale of this event to life for your studies.